Hey, what's up, everybody? We are here for our second spinal cord video. And when we last met, we had talked about how dorsal and ventral roots unite to make a spinal nerve, and the spinal nerve gives us a dorsal ramus to the back and a ventral ramus to the front, with a few branches that we met as well. And so what we want to figure out is what happens to these ventral rami today. So my ventral rami, so those are my front branches of my spinal nerves, all of them except T2 to T12 are going to form these interconnecting networks of nerve fibers known as a nerve plexus. So these guys, where we got C5 through C8 and T1, these are all ventral rami. These are all anterior branches of spinal nerves, and they're crisscrossing and interconnecting here. And this structure is called a nerve plexus. So all my ventral rami except T2 to T12 are going to form these nerve plexuses. And I'm going to end up having four main spinal nerve plexuses. There's a cervical plexus, which is formed from the ventral rami of C1 to C4. Brachial plexus, which is formed from the ventral rami of C5 to T1. Lumbar plexus, which is L1 to L4. Then a sacral plexus, which is L4 to S4. Now, T2 to T12, they don't form plexuses. Instead, those ventral rami form these things called intercostal nerves, which we see here, these guys curving out between the ribs. And that's what the word intercostal means. So I see a plexus up here, I see a plexus down here, I see a plexus all the way up here as well. But then between T2 and T12, I've got no plexuses. Instead, I'm getting intercostal nerves. Okay, my cervical plexus is going to come from ventral rami C1 to C4. So here in the blue are my ventral rami. You can see them branching and the branches connecting and branching and reconnecting. And this whole mess here is a plexus, and this is the cervical plexus. It is mostly giving rise to cutaneous nerves, so nerves going to skin structures, but also one major motor nerve, and we got to know that major motor nerve. It is called the phrenic nerve. It is this guy right here. And the phrenic nerve is super important because the phrenic nerve comes out of that plexus, comes down under the clavicle there, goes past the heart, and it is stimulating the diaphragm. So we see our left phrenic nerve right there, stimulating the diaphragm. Diaphragm is a super important muscle. We use it to breathe in. Every time we breathe in, we contract our diaphragm. Then when it relaxes, we breathe out. All right, so that is my cervical plexus. Then ventral rami C5 to T1. I'm going to have those ventral rami form a plexus. This plexus is called the brachial plexus. Brachial because it's going to the arm. So the brachial plexus is going to give rise to five important nerves, including the axillary, the musculocutaneous, the radial, the median, and the ulnar nerve. So five important nerves. The axillary nerve is going to go to the shoulder region. So it takes sensory information from the shoulder region, and it's going to control that big shoulder muscle, which is the deltoid muscle. Now the median nerve runs very much down the middle of the arm. I mean, that's why it's called the median nerve. And what the median nerve is going to do is it's going to carry sensory information from the lateral palm and fingers, as well as motor commands to most wrist flexors and thumb muscles. We see a bunch of wrist flexors and thumb muscles here. That's the job of the median nerve. Now, the musculocutaneous nerve, we see it running right here. That musculocutaneous nerve is going to get sensory info from the lateral forearm, and that's where we see it right here. And it's going to command two big muscles, the big biceps brachii muscle, which is what bends or flexes your elbow, as well as another elbow flexor right here called the brachialis muscle. Okay, two more nerves to do here. We've got the radial nerve, and you see it running along the radius there. And we see it's going to carry sensory information from the back of the arm, back of the forearm, back of the back of the palm, back of the forearm, back of the arm. It's also going to send motor commands to muscles on the back of the arm, like the triceps brachii, muscles on the back of the forearm, like the wrist extensors, and then this muscle right here, which is the brachioradialis. Okay, one more muscle in the arm, not muscle, sorry, one more nerve in the arm to do. It's the ulnar nerve. We see it paralleling the ulna here. And so we know our ulna is our medial bone, and so the sensory info is going to be from the medial hand and fingers. It's going to send commands to one wrist flexor, as well as some intrinsic muscles in your hand. Like if you're trying to grip something between your fingers and your thumb, for example, you'd use these intrinsic muscles in your hand. All right, so those are all my brachial plexus nerves. Brachial plexus was C5 to T1. Cervical plexus C1 to C4. Now we got ventral rami T2 to T12. They don't do plexuses. Instead, each ventral ramus on each side forms an intercostal nerve. We see an intercostal nerve running around here. Intercostal nerves are named intercostal because they're going between the ribs. They're going to command abdominal and thoracic wall muscles, as well as take sensory information from the skin in the thoracic and the abdominal wall. So now we got to do the rest of our plexuses. So ventral rami L1 to L4, they're going to interconnect to create the lumbar plexus. And we're just going to learn two nerves from the lumbar plexus, the big femoral nerve and then the smaller obturator nerve. Now, the femoral nerve is going to give me a lot of sensory information from my thigh, my leg, and my foot. It is a big nerve, and it's also going to send commands to this big anterior set of muscles in the thigh. This is called the quadriceps femoris, this big anterior set of muscles. It's a extensor of the knee, so it's going to help you straighten your knee out. Now the obturator nerve, on the other hand, the obturator nerve is going to sneak through that obturator foramen and then come down to the medial thigh. And it's in that medial thigh that we've got adductor muscles, the muscles that squeeze the thighs together. And we're also going to get sensory information from in here as well. So that's our obturator nerve. Sensory information from the thigh, as well as motor commands to adductor muscles. All right, final plexus is the sacral plexus. So that's L4 to S4. And it is going to go to the pelvis, as well as a lot of leg structures. So we're going to see a pair of gluteal nerves, superior and inferior gluteal nerves, as well as the biggest nerve in your body, which is called the sciatic nerve. You can just see how big it is over here. And also a nerve called the pudendal nerve. So the sciatic nerve, like we said, is the biggest nerve in the body. A lot of sensory information from skin in the lower limb. Motor commands to the hamstring muscles, which are these big posterior thigh muscles, as well as a lot of other muscles in the lower leg and the feet. We're not really doing the sciatic nerve justice. It's a huge nerve. It's got a lot of jobs. We're really kind of like simplifying it here. Now, the gluteal nerves, we've got a superior gluteal nerve that is going to give me sensory information from the gluteal region, so from the butt region, as well as send motor commands to abductor muscles. So abductor muscles will be on the outside of the thigh here, lateral thigh. They're going to pull the thigh out. Inferior gluteal nerve, on the other hand, is going to go to our large butt muscle, which is, of course, the gluteus maximus. This is a muscle that is a hip extensor. So think about straightening your hip. If you're sitting down right now, your hip is flexed, it's bent. Your gluteus maximus helps you straighten that hip. And it's your inferior gluteal nerve that's doing that. All right, our final nerve is the pudendal nerve. The pudendal nerve is going to carry sensory information from external genitalia, so penis and scrotum in men, labia, clitoris, vagina in women. And this nerve also sends motor commands to the sphincter muscles that surround the urethra and the anus. All right, we see the pudendal nerve right there going towards the sphincter muscle, going to the testes and to the scrotum and to the penis. See the external anal sphincter here. All these things are controlled by the pudendal nerve. All right, so we've named a lot of nerves as we did all these plexuses. And what we really need to do now is actually say, well, what is a nerve? So a nerve is a bundle of axons surrounded by various layers of connective tissue. So this is a single axon right here, and I see its Schwann cells around it. Then I see a layer of connective tissue around the Schwann cells, so around each axon. And we saw this in lab. This layer of loose connective tissue is called the endoneurium. Endoneurium will bind neighboring axons to one another. And then what we're doing is we're grouping the axons into this bundle called a fascicle. So we got a lot of axons here grouped together in a fascicle. Each axon has Schwann cells and then an endoneurium. Then the fascicle is surrounded by another layer of loose connective tissue called a perineurium. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 fascicles plus some blood vessels in here. And all that is surrounded by a dense layer of connective tissue called the epineurium. And that is what finally creates a nerve. So I got these lots of axons, lots of myelin sheaths, some blood vessels, and 3 layers of connective tissue. Endoneurium, perineurium, and epineurium. And that's structurally what's going to make up a nerve. If I look at some histology here, this is my connective tissue on the outside. This is my epineurium. This line here is some perineurium. So like all this is like a bundle of axons. Like right here I see an axon. The white around it is the myelin sheath. And then the little pink line around it would be the endoneurium. So that's what's going on to make a nerve. And wow, this second spinal cord lecture was crazy short, 13 and a half minutes, and we are done. So I'll see you next time. We'll talk about some cranial nerves. Bye-bye.